Multitasking is a natural everyday occurrence. We can cook dinner while watching TV, and we can talk to a friend while walking down the street without bumping into anybody or getting run over. However, research suggests that there is an enormous difference between how the brain can deal with what are referred to as highly practiced tasks, such as cooking or walking, and how it responds when, for example, you think about adding another ingredient, or you decide to change the direction you are walking in. In this case, our brains require us to concentrate on the activity at hand. Problems also arise when we try to carry out two or more tasks that are in some way related. Most people feel they are perfectly capable of driving and having a conversation at the same time. This is fine until they need to process language while driving, for example, read a road sign. Then the language channel of the brain gets clogged and the brain can no longer cope. A similar thing occurs if the conversation is about something visual, for example, your friend describing what his new flat looks like. In this case, as you try to imagine what he is describing, the visual channel of the brain is overloaded and you can no longer concentrate on the road.
Mindfulness refers to moment-by-moment awareness of thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and the surrounding environment. It focuses the brain on the present moment instead of on the past or the future, and is gaining popularity as a practice in daily life. A recent experiment conducted by psychologists in the USA looked at the effects of mindfulness training on the multitasking behavior of workers in high-stress environments. They found that when asked to do multiple tasks in a short period of time, those who had been trained in mindfulness had a better memory for details and were able to maintain more focus on each task. They did not get distracted by worrying about the other tasks that still needed doing. This may well be because mindfulness training helps us to become more aware of where we are focusing our attention, so it makes sense that we are then better equipped to deal with a demanding work environment. According to another study, mindfulness training can help improve people's attitudes towards work. Let's say you are faced with a large pile of invoices to process. If your mind starts to look for more interesting things to do, it is going to take you longer, and you will probably make mistakes. If you can look at this task with a calm, clear, and engaged mind, you will be more efficient, and you might even find some enjoyment in the process.
3.2 The Chocolate Meditation.
Again and again, people tell us that mindfulness greatly enhances the joys of daily life. In practice, even the smallest of things can suddenly become captivating again. For this reason, one of our favourite practices is the chocolate meditation. In this, you ask yourself to bring all your attention to some chocolate as you're eating it. So if you want to do this right now, choosing some chocolate, not unwrapping it yet, choosing a type that you've never tried before or one that you've not eaten recently. It might be dark and flavoursome, organic or fair trade, or whatever you choose. Perhaps choosing a type you wouldn't normally eat, or that you consume only rarely. Before you unwrap the chocolate, look at the whole bar or packet, its colour, its shape, what it feels like in your hand, as if you were seeing it for the very first time. Now very slowly unwrapping the chocolate, noticing how the wrapping feels as you unfold it, seeing the chocolate itself. What colours do you notice? What shapes? Inhaling the aroma of the chocolate, letting it sweep over you. And now taking or breaking off a piece and looking at it as it rests on your hand. Really letting your eyes drink in what it looks like. Examining every nook and cranny. At a certain point, bringing it up to your mouth, noticing how the hand knows where to position it, and popping it in the mouth, noticing what the tongue does to receive it. See if it's possible to hold it on your tongue and let it melt. Noticing any tendency to chew it. Seeing if you can sense some of the different flavours. Really noticing these. If you notice your mind wandering while you do this, simply noticing where it went, then gently escorting it back to the present moment. And then when the chocolate has completely melted, swallowing it very slowly and deliberately, letting it trickle down your throat. What did you notice? If the chocolate tasted better than if you'd just eaten it at a normal pace, what do you make of that? Often we taste the first piece and perhaps the last, but the rest goes down unnoticed. We're so often on autopilot, we can miss much of our day-to-day lives. Mindfulness is about bringing awareness to the usual routine things in life, things that we normally take for granted. Perhaps you could try this with any routine activity, seeing what you notice. It could change your whole day.
3.3 1.
One thing I really hate waiting for is waiting at home for a delivery to arrive, because sometimes you get like a 2-hour delivery window and that's fine, but more often they'll say could be any time 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and you're stuck in the house, you don't even dare go and buy a pint of milk, and of course it always ends up arriving at 5 to 7 in the evening and you spent the whole day waiting.
2.
It annoys me if I have to wait for web pages to load, if there's a really bad internet connection, and the pages are very slow to load, and you actually sort of see one line loading at a time, pixel by pixel, it seems. But, invariably, if you need the information, you sit and wait as long as it takes.
3.
Is there anything I really hate having to wait for? Not particularly. I'm fairly patient. If I'm in a queue, I'm fairly patient, but I will get annoyed if people start to disregard the laws of queues and try and jump them or try and get to the front in some other way. As long as there's a system to follow it, that usually keeps me calm.
4.
I really hate waiting for anything where I've been given an appointment time for a specific hour, a specific time, and then having to wait for ages before I have it. So, for example, a hairdresser or a dentist or a doctor. I think particularly things like hairdressers and dentists, because I think they must know how long the previous person's going to take. They don't have to deal with emergencies or anything like that, so why can't they give me a correct time? I'm very punctual, so I always turn up on time. In fact, usually at least 5 minutes early. And it really, really annoys me if I have to wait for a long time. Anything more than 15 minutes over the appointment time drives me completely insane.
5.
Waiting for Jerry, my husband, is a complete nightmare because he's never ready on time. And I always tell him to be ready 15 minutes before we need to be ready. And even so, he's so late. It drives me completely bananas. I don't know why it drives me completely bananas, because, in fact, we often don't need to be there on time, or it doesn't need to be that kind of precise. But It does. I hate it. He's preening himself, getting his jacket on and looking at himself in the mirror. I mean, he takes much more time than I do.
6.
I can't abide waiting in check-in queues at airports because I'm standing in the queue watching people take ages and ages and ages to check in, and I know when I get to the front of the queue, I'll do my check-in in 20 seconds. I don't know why these other people can't do the same.
3.4. 1.
But more often they'll say, could be any time 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
2.
You actually sort of see one line loading at a time.
3.
I always turn up on time. In fact, usually at least 5 minutes early.
3.8. 1.
We need to make up for lost time.
2.
He gave me a really hard time.
3.
We're going to run out of time.
4.
Could I have some time off next week?
5.
At times I feel like giving up completely.
6.
Time's up. Please stop writing.
7.
Let's not waste time on that.
8.
It's only a matter of time before they break up.
9.
Did you have a good time last night?
10.
It's about time you learn to cook.
3.9. 1.
Not at all.
Thanks very much.
Not at all.
2.
First of all, we're going to revise the vocabulary from yesterday.
3.
Pick it up. That's your towel on the floor. Pick it up.
4.
In an hour.
When will you be back?
In an hour or so.
5.
On our own. Don't worry, we'll find it on our own.